I'm Laurie Vitale. On this episode of Laurie in the Kitchen, I'm going to kick things off with the first apple recipe of the season. This is a really easy one. I like to call it my apple pie coffee cake because it tastes like an apple pie, but it's in a coffee cake form, and it's so easy to make. There is no worrying about pie crust, although I do love a good old-fashioned apple pie. But this gives you all those same flavors, and it's perfect with a cup of coffee, a little bit of tea, anything you really want to eat it with, and you just make it in a standard 9 by 13 inch pan, and it's easy peasy. The first thing you want to do, of course, get your oven preheated to 375, and the ingredients you'll need are kind of basic ones. Start off with some all-purpose flour, baking soda, salt, baking powder, cinnamon, diced apples. I like using Granny Smith. I've got some sugar, granulated sugar, eggs, milk, and then in here I've got some more flour, brown sugar, cinnamon, I've got some granulated sugar, and then I've got some butter. I also need a little bit of orange, some vanilla extract, and you're going to need some unsalted butter that's been softened at room temperature. I like to put my butter, like I'll unwrap it and just put it on my stove as the oven preheats, and that tends to help it come to room temperature a little bit faster. It melts a little bit around the edges, but that's okay. I'm going to make mine in my standing mixer that I have fitted with a paddle attachment just to make my life easier, but you don't have to, of course. You can make this in just a standard bowl with your wooden spoon and or a spatula, and you're good to go. The first thing I'm going to do is cream together the sugar and the butter just for a couple minutes. Add some vanilla along with your eggs, and let those mix for just a few minutes. And while that happens, take your dry ingredients, give those a stir, because you want to get everything well combined, and then just set them aside for just a second. I'm going to just take this down, give it a nice scrape-a-roo. Now, I like to add a little bit of orange in my apple pie. I just feel like it works so well with the apples and the cinnamon, so I like to add a little bit of orange zest in anything I make that's got sort of that apple pie flavor to it. I don't like to add so much that it overwhelms the flavor of everything else, but I would say maybe half of a teaspoon or so. It just perfumes this coffee cake so well, and I love the results. So I'm just gonna let that continue to mix for like another minute or so, just with the orange and everything. Meantime, I'm just taking the ingredients for the little topping. I'm just gonna make a very little bit of like a crumb topping, and I'm just gonna cut this in using my pastry cutter. Lower that down. Again, another scrape. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add about, I would say, 3/4 of my dry mixture here, because I want to take this bit and mix it with my apples. And what that does is it sort of coats every little bit of apple, and it ensures that they kind of spread throughout the batter evenly. So just give them a toss to mix well. I'll let that start mixing to begin with, and then we'll start adding the milk. Adding the milk. Let that go for a bit. You can even grate the apple if you don't want big pieces of it. I like big pieces of it, so that's why I like to add like chunks of apple, because I want to be able to taste the actual apples. But if you don't prefer that, then by all means you can just start adding it grated, and it's not such a big piece throughout the cake. Okay, adding the last of the dry mixture with the apples. And some more milk. Sometimes you need a full cup, sometimes you need 1.25 cups. It really depends. Just give that a mix until you feel like it's well combined. We are almost there, but I do think I'm going to end up having to use all my milk, which usually about 1.25 cups is what I will need. And then back here, I just have a standard 9 by 13 inch pie plate, cake plate, whatever this is. What is this? A baking pan. Couldn't get the word out. It can be glass, it can be metal, it can be whatever your heart desires. You can make this in a bundt cake as well, but it might not work out as well because you have that topping you're gonna put on there. So give this a good stir from the bottom. Get it in there. It smells fantastic, and just wait until it bakes in the oven. It is incredible. It's better than any candle scent you will ever have in your life. Try to get this as even as possible. You can see the pieces of orange running through it, and I love that. That means little things in life. Okay. Take your topping. You can omit this part if you want to, but it's a little extra something special, so why not? I'm gonna pop this into the oven and I'm gonna let this bake for about 40 to 45 minutes or until it's completely cooked through. Let it cool and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. My cake baked for 45 minutes. I have let it cool for about a half hour, but it's still warm, and that's how I want to serve it because that's how I want to eat it and it smells so good. And that topping that we made just kind of got crispy all around the edges, and it almost made it as a nice little top, layer on top that's just a little different. Now remember, this is still warm, so it will hold a whole lot better once you let it cool completely, but I just need it. Like, I don't even care if it breaks and falls because it smells so good. Trying to get it out of here without breaking it up in a million pieces. Oh, it's so good. Smells so good. You can see the apples all the way through. You can still see that it's somewhat steamy. Mouth is watering. I just really need a cup of coffee right now, and I'd be in business. And the apples keep this really, really moist too. Oh my goodness. That is like one of the best cakes of life. It is so sweet. So sweet. It is so good. So moist. I love the balance between the orange and the cinnamon. And that crunchy topping, it just makes this for the most incredible coffee cake, and it couldn't be any easier to make. Go to laurainthekitchen.com, give this recipe a try. It's an absolute must-have for the season, and you'll find yourself making this over and over and over again because, like I said, it's easy and it's delicious. Hope you enjoy spending time with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye!